Hello and welcome back to Survival Check, your unofficial spooky guide to the Dungeons and Dragons. I forgot I wrote spooky there. Ooh. All right, let's try this again. Hello and welcome back to Survival Check, your unofficial spooky guide.
Your unofficial ASMR D&D podcast.
Your unofficial ASMR. This is just going to be an outtake episode. I feel it already. All right, let's do it. Hello and welcome back to Survival. God damn it. Hello and welcome back to Survival Check, your unofficial spooky guide to the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition monster manual. Like always, my name is Zach, and along with me tonight, as we explore the haunted house on the hill, is Tevis and Shayne, and possibly Anderson down the line. He's in the spirit realm right now, and we don't know if he's going to stop by. But anyway, yes, we have to summon him. Everyone, hold hands, virtual hold hands. Let's do a seance. Anyway, let's start this off right, because we are doing the Banshee tonight. So, I guess we're including Anderson in this. All four of us go to a haunted house. Who's living, who's not? Who's the first one dead?
Tevis.
The first one? Yeah, me. There's no question about that.
Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, Tevis. I feel like, who's the final girl in our group? I think Anderson's the final girl.
Probably.
Yeah, he's got a lot of fight in him.
He does have a lot of fight. I would give up pretty easy, I think.
Shayne would try to talk himself out of it and then fail miserably, just like all of his D&D characters in any kind of situation.
Absolutely. I feel like I'd be way too interested in the ghost, and I would try to see it, and then I would just be dead. Because I'll be like, "Ooh, it's haunted. Ooh, ooh, come here, spooky." Okay, so yes, tonight, the second week of October, the spookiest season of the year, we are starting the bees. And let me tell you, we talked about this a little bit last week. The bees are hits. The bees are hits through and through. Every single monster in the bee is fucking amazing. We have the Banshee, the Basilisk, the Bahir, the Beholders. I have to flip my pages. The Blights, the Bugbears, the Bullywog, the Boule. And that's it. But really, all those monsters will rule.
Yeah. They're good ones. I think I've used all of them.
Same, I think. Actually, I don't know if I've ever used a Banshee, but I'm
excited that we're finally getting to something that I have used. This is the first one so far that I've actually implemented in a game.
Yeah, and it is a good one. So, like I said, we are starting the bees out with Banshee, which I love this monster. I love the lore behind it. I love everything about it. I don't know if I love the 5th edition version of it, though, but we will get into that. Anyway, yes, Banshee. So, let's, like always, start with our prior knowledge. And who's played it? I know, or ran it. I know both of you guys have ran it, because both of the times I have been incapacitated.
Yeah.
So I think my experience with the Banshee is like Tevis's experience with the Azer, where like I used it, but I wasn't really aware completely of its like full potential and lore. Yeah. But I knew, because of like real life connections and stuff, kind of the idea behind them. So I threw them in my game because I thought they were cool for the area. And it turned out that when I looked into their character sheet and stuff, they made sense where I put them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, same. I think I like copied an encounter from like The Witcher, where like you encounter a well and then a Banshee comes out of it. I didn't know anything really about the Banshee. I just put it in because it looked cool.
I mean, obviously, cool.
And then I realized that it may have been a little too powerful for the party.
The craziest thing is, this is the weakest version of the Banshee in any Dungeons and Dragons edition. This is the weakest by far.
Really?
As I always say, it's not what you have, it's how you use it.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like I said, they're whale. Even though I play paladins and other high con characters, I always get fucked over by their whale. I always get killed, knocked unconscious by their whale. I just don't know why. It's something about it.
It's a wisdom saving throw, right?
It's a
Or
con
is it
saving throw. It
constitution?
is a con
Okay.
saving throw. But yeah, they are the bane of my existence as a player character. They always get me, no matter what. They always get me. Yeah. So I've never ran them. I need to run them. They're super cool, but I've played against them multiple times, enough times to know that like I've gone down 3 times by them, like mid to late adventures too. Like this wasn't even like I was level 3; it was like I was level 6 or like level 8. So
Yeah, I think you were level 8 in my campaign. You guys are just like
yeah,
trudging through a swamp.
exactly.
And
So
there they were.
I love them. So yeah, let's take that prior knowledge we have and let's move on to the history of them in Dungeons and Dragons. A Banshee has my tongue tonight, as you can see. I'm twisting it a little bit, but so let's get in the time machine. I'm not going to ask what edition this appeared because I've again spoiled it for you guys by posting something in our group chat being like, "Hey, look how cool this was in first edition." So I have another question for you guys. So let's all get in our mystery machine, time machine, pull the levers, uranium. Great Scott, we're going back in time to 1977. In A&D, that's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition. So my question for you tonight is not when they were first seen, but the Banshee was not called the Banshee in first edition. What do you think it was called? I will say it has something to do with what it can do, kind of.
Him.
Close, kind of close. It's 2 words. It is, yeah. It is. I'll give this because this is gonna be. It is blank spirit.
Wailing spirit. Screaming spirit.
It starts with a G. You actually might not get it. It's a weird word they put in front of it.
Grotesque. Grotesque.
Ooh, Anderson is calling out to us from the grave. Hello.
Ooh,
hello.
I'm saying it
We summoned him. No. So first edition, 1977. We don't have the Banshee. We have the groaning spirit.
Groaning.
Yeah, it's a weird word to put in front of it. Like when I think Banshee, it's like wailing or screeching or screaming, but no.
Yeah,
It's like groaning spirit.
Please cut out a lot of my guesses.
Yeah. But it's cool. I like it. So I'm gonna actually read the flavor text for first edition groaning spirit or Banshee because I think it's really interesting to look at that and then look at it going to second edition, third edition, all the way to fifth edition. So this is from first edition, the first monster manual. It reads, "The groaning spirit or Banshee is the spirit of an evil female elf." The evil female elf is notable because that stays somewhat consistent again, except for one edition. A very rare thing indeed. The spirit returns to harm the living. It is found only in desolate countrysides, moors, etc. The groaning spirit can attack by its chilling touch, causing 1 to 8 hit points of damage attack when it strikes. It's more, which I mean, that's just basic for first edition. Its more fearsome mode of attack, however, is its wail or keening, which will cause the hearers within 3 inches to save versus magic or die on the spot. The sight of a groaning spirit causes fear unless an appropriate saving throw is made. It can wail but once per day and only during darkness. Groaning spirits cannot be affected by charm, sleep, or hold spells. They are impervious to attacks by cold and electricity. And then my favorite part of this, the last sentence of this, their like stat block says, "Exorcism kills them."
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. It doesn't say what kind of exorcism, but I like that. I think we've talked about this a couple episodes. I really like those little throwaway lines that the older editions had, like how many you might find, what might kill them, like how the Azer said like it couldn't survive in 200 degree or less. So like I like those throwaways. It kind of gives your party like a different way of killing them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most important thing to read out of that is from the beginning, it was a save or die on the spot. Creature.
Fun.
And really, as we'll see as we go through second edition, third edition, and they don't really show up in fourth edition. Fifth edition is really the only one where it just brings you down to 0. The other ones just straight up kill you. Like that's what I was saying in the beginning. The Banshee of fifth edition is a watered down version. It's still really cool. It is brutal, not as brutal as its ancestors. So that's first edition. We get the Groaning Spirit. We get the beginning of the save or die. You get the whale that it can do once a day. It can't it's a ghost. It's the spirit of an evil female elf, which is very consistent throughout the Banshee's history, is that it is most of the time an evil female elf.
Except one edition.
Yep, except one edition. The rest of them, like even 5th edition, it says most likely, or even says it's a female elf. And yeah, so with 1st edition, we go to 2nd edition. And this one, it gets a little bit more deadly. I actually like reading this part. I think this is the coolest flavor text for their whale. So like 1st edition, 2nd edition is also a save or die, but it reads, any creature within 30 feet of a groaning spirit when she keens must roll a saving throw versus death magic. But death magic just sounds metal. Those who fail die immediately, their faces contorted in horror. Which is cool. That's a cool flavor text. Normally you don't get anything that reads like what happens when you die to a monster, so it's kind of cool that you die to a Banshee, you kind of get that ring effect, like when they open the closet, the girl's this is a audio thing, but I just made a contorted face. So it's kind of like that. It also, in 2nd edition, we get the beginning that it can sense the presence of any living creatures up to 5 miles away. That is something that stays throughout. Yeah, that is something that really, I don't think most people know about the Banshee, but it's really cool. They have this radar. See, is there anything else in 2nd edition that I saw? Looking at my notes right now. No. Okay. So that was 2nd edition. So 2nd edition just kind of gave more flavor text to the Banshee. It also gave it the ability to see or know the relative location of any living creatures within 5 miles of it. It says that it can, holy water does damage to it, and a dispel evil spell will dispel evil magic spell, or evil dispel evil spell will kill a groaning spirit, so that's kind of cool. But 3rd edition is my favorite edition for the Banshee. So I might have I told you guys this already, but 3rd edition Banshee is CR17. And
that's a huge bitch.
So yeah, I love this version of the Banshee. It is fucking wicked. So, also 3rd edition is also the edition that removes the female and race specific. So 3rd edition is the edition where you don't have to be an evil female elf. You still got to be evil. You just need to be a strong-willed and selfish individual when you die brutally. That's how a Banshee is created. But so with the CR17 Banshee, it turns the area where it died and the area surrounding it into a wasteland. It kills all plants, turns it into a haunted moor, which is cool. So it gives it an area effect. But the thing that makes it so brutal, it has 3 things that I wrote down. So first of all, it has a charisma drain where it's a save or permanently lose 1d4 charisma, but also heals. The Banshee also heals it. The second one, the horrific appearance, this one is the most insane of the Banshee, Banshee abilities, and for 3rd edition. So this happens when you look at the Banshee and you're 60 feet away. You have to make this spell save DC. If you fail it, you lose 1d4 strength, 1d4 dexterity, and 1d4 constitution permanently.
You said CR17?
Yep.
You mean 1700?
Right? That's brutal. You see the thing and your ability scores are just dropped.
Wow.
Then the last but not least is in every other edition, Banshees can only wail once a day. This Banshee can wail up to 3 times a day, every 1d4 rounds, and it can slay up to 18 living creatures per wail.
Whoa.
Oh, I like this one.
Yeah, this
one's pretty cool.
But at the same time,
It's a dick
That
monster.
it's not that it's a dick monster. It's that's not a fun fight. That is not a monster I would
You're
ever
losing.
put up against my party. It's how you end a game and friendships,
Yeah.
right?
It'd have to be a one shot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the
Endgame
last
boss
fight.
one.
Or the last fight, like of the entire campaign.
I would even argue with you on that one.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, you don't want to like end it on
Only
a downer.
because they're permanent. If you could recover them after, which you could easily do, you could just say, well,
Yeah.
I say they're recoverable. Kind of, nothing's written in stone. But because that's permanent, imagine you walk in and you fail that save and you lose 4 in Dex, Strength, and Con. It's CR 17, so you got to be level 10 or 11, 12.
Yeah.
Like the lowest, right? You lose all that, putting your strength to like a 6, your dex from a 14 to a 10, and your con from a 13 to a 9. Like, why even play that character anymore?
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, last fight. Like, if it's the last boss, you would have known what you're getting into at that point. You're not getting thrown into it randomly. And I always like the last fights. Like, your characters shouldn't come out as shiny, beautiful heroes at the end of a quest. They need to come up beaten up and with some scars, because no one wants to just play the Mary Sue character that is like 100% perfect. So I think this is like really a monster that can give you scars.
That's fair.
I agree with that.
Pretty deep scars.
Let's sky you up.
So yeah, that is the 3rd edition. They don't appear in 4th edition. Don't know why. Because they're so cool. They should appear in 4th edition.
I wonder why.
I mean, yeah, whoever made the 3rd edition Banshee, like, respect. That was brutal.
There was a poll after 3rd edition. It was like, what's the creature that our community
like the guy who wrote the manual didn't run it by anybody and put it in there, and like Gary Gygax was like, bro,
what the
hell? Well, yeah, it is honestly the most brutal monster I've ever read. Like, just reading it.
Banshee in 3rd edition?
What?
Is it called the Banshee in 3rd edition?
It is called the Banshee in 3rd edition. It's really the 1st and 2nd edition that are really called the Groaning Spirit. The 3rd edition is when it really just kind of remains the Banshee. So from there, we skip 4th edition and we go into 5th edition, our current edition, and we have the Banshee, the most palatable version of the Banshee. The only time in D&D lore where the Banshee does not save or die you. But let's talk about the lore in 5th edition. So we have the flavor text that reads on page 23. This is for the Banshee. When night falls, unlucky travelers hear the faint cries of the forlorn dead. This woeful spirit is a Banshee, a spiteful creature formed from the spirit of a female elf. So again, we went from 3rd edition where you could really be wasn't race specific, wasn't gender specific, back to 5th edition where it is a female elf. I think that has origins in the actual real life myth of the Banshee, which I will cover in a second.
Way to regress D&D.
I mean, honestly,
I'm just kidding.
I think a male gnome Banshee would be super cool. I kind of like that they removed that in 3rd edition.
He's so silly.
It would be. I really like the idea. So, like, again, like alignment, just make the thing what you want it to be.
Yeah, it's like 3.5. It was like, I want to make Danny Phantom.
Exactly. Pathfinder lets you do that. So, and then the next sentence in the flavor text is Banshees appear as luminous, wispy forms that vaguely recall their mortal features. I think that's a really cool way to describe these creatures, is because they are these spirits of usually slain, very beautiful, very charismatic, very full of themselves elves. Is like they're these spirits trying to pull together their beauty, so they're like this kind of like ever-flowing, luminous, translucent being of like mismatched beauty and horrid. And then it says a banshee's face is wreathed in a wild tangle of hair, its body clad in wispy rags that flutter and stream around it. So that is like the beginning flavor text. And then we get into the more like specific headers here. We have Divine Wrath, which says banshees are the undead remnants of elves who blessed with great beauty, fail to use their gift to bring joy to the world. So banshees are I'll say like 99% of the time, not great people. they are people who are very vain, very full of themselves. They like have beauty. It's like they're narcissists almost. Like the point is so yeah. And I think this line sums it up. Instead, they use their beauty to corrupt and control others. So yeah. So it's kind of a curse on these beautiful people who use their powers of beauty and charisma to do bad. It's kind of their like curse as a banshee to take this living form, this undead form of horridness and horribleness. Yeah. So we got that, and then we have sorrow bound. A banshee becomes forever bound to the place of its demise, unable to venture more than 5 miles from there. It is forced to relive every moment of its life with perfect recall, yet always refuses to accept responsibility for its doom. Again, really interesting lore here. So,
narcissists.
Yeah, they're narcissists. Yeah. They have to relive everything, but they like it literally says they always refuse to accept responsibility for their doom. They're these hate-filled creatures who blame others for their death and this curse.
They're a vengeful spirit.
They are a vengeful spirit, yes.
And do they groan?
And do they groan? And keen and wail. So, and then the last thing is beauty hoarders. Pretty much this is saying they hoard everything beautiful, fine jewelry, paintings, statues, blah, 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 blah. But there's one thing that they will not hoard or even have probably in a 5-mile radius where they are, and that is reflective surfaces, including mirrors. They do not want to see themselves in this ugly form. They hate seeing this. So they will actually avoid seeing the horror of their own existence. It even says a single glimpse of itself is enough to send a banshee into a rage. So these creatures are just angry, hateful beings of pure spooky ookiness. Also, they're undead. They don't sleep, eat, or drink, or require air. So before we get into the stat block, I think it is a good thing to talk about the real world origins, because the real world origins of a banshee differ in ways from the D&D version. So the word banshee first appears in the English language in the 18th century, but it goes further back in that, more in Gaelic lore. The banshee myth comes from Ireland and is originally a Gaelic word. It's like Banshee. So there's that. But so in D&D, we have these scornful, hateful spirits who can't see themselves and are killers. Like they destroy and murder and kill anything that go in that. It's kind of the opposite. So in the actual banshee myth from Ireland, they are these like witch-like creatures. They're temporal. They wail and stuff. But their wail acts more as a sign that someone will die. It is said to be in Gaelic lore that every family of Irish descent has a banshee that kind of is connected to their family, and when you hear their wail at night, that either means you will be perishing or a death in the family is soon to come. So I see how they took that over into D&D. They're also considered fairies in Gaelic mythology, because a lot of Gaelic mythology and Irish lore revolves around fairies, like leprechauns and stuff. So they act more as messengers. That's what I'm trying to get at is like D&D, they're like bringers of death. Real world mythology, they are messengers of death. It also says in Gaelic lore that it is the most terrifying sound in the world, which is the banshee's wail.
I was going to ask, do you think it was someone just in their house and they heard someone else getting shagged across the street? They're like, oh, fuck, I'm dead. But if it's the most horrific sound they've ever heard, I guess not.
No.
It was someone seeing someone shagging their wife.
Which is funny. I watched a video of someone from Ireland who is like a historian on mythology and stuff, and he did make the joke that like a lot of the signs where people heard the banshee, they were coming home from the pub at night. So you know. But still, I really like it. I really like the myth it comes from. I like the twist that D&D did on it. Because
I like that it's ingrained in real life.
Oh, absolutely. I get
That's awesome.
like we haven't really had that yet. Like the divas and angels were, but like they're different, kind of a different beings than like the angels and
Yeah,
mythology.
this
we have.
feels more like I don't know, like kind of more grounded, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Literally.
absolutely. I would agree. Yeah. So let's move on to the stat block. So first thing first, page 23. This is what our like seventh monster. Finally, someone speaks common.
Finally.
Like angels had all. I'm not counting that, but this is the first time in the stat block we see that languages common.
Hell yeah.
I feel like fireworks are gonna be going off, but then I
got
looked at the
2 fucking hands in the air right now.
Hell yeah.
But then I looked at like further down the line, and it's a bit until we have someone who speaks common again. So we're gonna celebrate as it is. The Banshee speaks common and Elvish. That going back to the Elvish female lore. So if you do make that Banshee some other race, just change Elvish out for like Orcish or Gnomish or Dwarvish or anything like that. But yeah, let's talk about it. What do you guys first see? What's your first impressions?
Me. I am just so pleased with the fact that it was called something different in a previous edition, but now it's called Horrifying Visage, and it's kind of a dumbed down version of what it was earlier. It just frightens you. I can't remember what the early edition did, but it was ridiculous.
It just like stole all your abilities.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It stole ability scores from you, which is insane. This just frightens you. Which is still just cool. I like what this creature is. It, like I said, it's like a vengeful spirit. It's like a ghost, a spooky ghost. And when you see it, you get scared because ghosts are scary.
It's a horrifying sight. It is like not a good look. It is terrifying, and it is probably fucking angry.
And I picture like every time it moves, it like its face and other pieces of it like snap around very crazily, and just probably just very intimidating thing to see.
Kind of like the Silent Hill nurses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. The twitching.
Yeah. I think the Horrifying Visage is cool. It's a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. So that's always. It's always a good. I like spells that kind of do throw frightened into it. Just because it kind of changes the composure of the fight because like. If your party is normally having like one person run in front, but they're frightened, you kind of have to change up your tactics pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is like a cool way to like make your fights a little bit more, like a little different, a little more different than they usually are. It gives like some variety. There's a few monsters that have Horrifying Visage, which I like.
I personally wish the fear condition was a little bit more impactful, but that's just me.
I mean, I agree too. I think, just run away until you can't see them or like you get a save. I think like maybe like the Banshee should have a little bit stronger of a Horrifying Visage just because of its past.
Yeah, I think the problem personally is that it's very easy to get over fear and everything can give you immunity to fear.
That is true. It's kind of like poison in that way. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, what stands out to me though, other than that, is if it is not resistant to a damage type, it is immune to it. Yep. I think there's only 2 damage types
stuck out to me too.
That this thing is not resistant or immune to, and that's Force and Psychic. Otherwise, Radiant?
Yeah,
that makes sense. All right, I missed that. There's a lot. I'm sorry, there's a lot on that list. It's easy to miss. Radiant, Psychic, Force. Those are the 3 damage that doesn't have some kind of resistance or immunity to. It is immune to cold, necrotic, and poison, and every other damage type other than those 6, it has resistance to.
Yep. And I will even say, going to the Radiant thing, it's not even vulnerable to Radiant. There's a lot of undead that are like vulnerable to Radiant and stuff.
Yeah.
Not this. So, yeah, I mean, like
also the condition immunities.
Yeah, it's pretty much immune to like every condition. Like you can't knock it prone. You can't restrain it.
Yeah, you gotta.
It's
gotta kill it.
Yeah, and it's hard, like especially like this is like the lowest CR rating it's ever been. You could throw these at lower parties if you wanted to. It's gonna be a hard fight, but like, it depends really who you are as a DM. Like if you give a lot of magic items, there's a good chance that a lot of your party doesn't have all magical items at this point, so you're only doing half damage.
There's a good chance that your party has all magical items and are level 18 and can still get dropped by this thing.
Yes, that is. I think we talked about the whale last, but absolutely, this thing is still. I think the whale is very unique in that way.
Mhm.
So this thing has an armor class of 12, but like we just talked about, it has so many resistance and immunities. I don't even see that as like a super downfall to it. It's
Mhm.
like you might be hitting it, but you're just not doing all the damage to it.
Yep.
And it's 58 hit points, which is a decent amount of hit points.
Yeah.
Like actually, it has like if I'm looking at the Azer next to it, and it has about 20 more. I mean, it has 2 CR ratings higher, but if you think about like the bronze dwarf
Yeah.
creatures, like it's beefier than them, which is interesting.
Not to mention it has resistance to almost everything, so that almost doubles its HP. And
Yeah.
if you're using the CR rating to line it up with your party, there's probably a lot of people who don't have magical physical weapons to get past that resistance.
Yeah, very true. It has 40 feet hover speed, so it's actually kind of that's actually pretty fast,
Yeah.
especially because it can go through objects.
And how it looks so like decrepit and frail, you kind of wouldn't be expecting that kind of speed.
Yeah,
At least from my
absolutely.
standpoint. I think what I also really enjoy about this stat block, which is probably undersold a lot, is their corrupting touch. It's a melee spell attack, +4 to hit, 5 reach. The target takes 3d6 plus 2 necrotic damage.
Yeah,
I think the fact that it is 3d6
that's
is pretty impactful, right? It's not 2d8. 3d6, and I'm a firm believer the more weapon dice the better, because it lowers or it increases your minimum without decreasing your maximum.
I agree.
So the lowest you can get on that roll is a 5, because you have 3 dice and it's +2. So if you roll a 1 on everything, 5. If it was just 2d8, the lowest would be 4. Right?
Yeah.
So just those small things, and at this low of a level, each point makes a difference.
Completely agree. There's its ability scores are also pretty well-rounded. It has 1 in strength, but like it has all the condition immunities. Like that's not gonna do anything to it. Like you can't restrain it or grapple it. Like the really things like where strength comes in play, you can't really do anything with it.
Mhm.
So like having a 1 in strength isn't bad. It has a pretty decent dexterity. It has a pretty high charisma due to its lore. The rest of the stats are pretty even. So it's a pretty well-rounded stat block.
I would argue that you could knock the Banshee prone, but all that would do is phase half of the Banshee into the ground, thus giving you disadvantage on hitting it as a melee fighter, because it is physically less mass.
That's fair. It could just literally just go through the
Yeah, you just push your head into the ground, the feet just sink through, and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We also have Detect Life, which is the Banshee can magically sense the presence of creatures up to 5 miles away that aren't undead or constructs. She knows the direction they're in, but not their exact locations. I think that is a cool thing to mix with, I believe it is Sorrowbound. They can't leave 5 miles. Like this is their haunting ground, like where they die. They can't leave in the 5-mile radius. So I'm guessing like this is just like, oh, poltergeist activity. Like area is their 5-mile radius is their haunting zone. So obviously they know what's in this area because they can't leave it. So that's where they are. Which is kind of, if going back to 3rd edition, I liked that like the Banshee's area had dead plants and stuff, and like it corrupted the land. You don't really see that in a 5th edition Banshee, but I think that was like a unique way of showing that there's a Banshee here. And then the last thing we have to talk about is the whale. The most notable thing of the Banshee, what it is known for.
The meat and potatoes.
Yes. So let me read this. So this is once a day, this is whale. The Banshee releases a mournful wail, provided that she isn't in sunlight. The wail has no effect on constructs and undead. All creatures within 30 feet of her that can hear her must make a DC 13 con saving throw. On a failure, a creature drops to 0 hit points. On a success, a creature takes 3d6 psychic damage. So not as brutal as the earlier editions, but still, you could technically have a high-level party, like level 18 and stuff, and some of them fail their con saving throws, and they still get dropped to 0. There's not any other monsters that can do that.
Yeah. Like, what rogue or what, like, wizard specs into Constitution and has proficiency in that saving throw? None of them. Right?
Hell,
like, it doesn't exist.
I was saying in the beginning of the episode, I play a lot of high con characters, and I still get dropped by this damn creature every time I see it. It's the luck of the dice at some points. Like I played paladins, I played like fighters and stuff, still get dropped by these banshees. But I mean, obviously, I think you pop out, you horrifying visage or your whale, and you drop like that alone. The whale can really change the party. Like if one or two of your party members fall to 0, it's like okay, we need to recover them. But let's say like everyone but one person fails that, then it is. Then you're in some trouble.
See you later. Yeah. Like
oh my god, you can easily TPK.
Like the last person up is a barbarian. Like, would the barbarian risk their life to revive everybody? Do they have a means to revive anybody? Are they smart enough in their rage to know to go through their belongings to find things to revive them before their death saves are over?
Yeah.
Do they fight or run?
Also, I feel like the banshees too, like if it wails and knocks everyone down, like some encounters you can be like, oh, the bugbears all knocked you unconscious. They're gonna take you prisoner. The banshees is gonna like rip your throat out.
Yeah, they're gonna kill you.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna just be angry that you're living and they're not, and they're just gonna rip your throat out. So it is a pretty interesting / deadly / cool ability.
It's so unique.
It is. I wish they would maybe in like a later monster manual they will give us a higher level banshee. But I mean I'm for CR4 the whale I like it. I mean I think that you can throw it in pretty much anywhere.
Yep.
Let me see. Is there anything else? It speaks common. We already freaked out about that. It has
common.
I'm still happy that it speaks common and Elvish. It has dark vision up to 60 feet, and it has a passive perception up to 10. But I don't know how you sneak up on a banshee.
Yeah, I would argue that passive perception is kind of irrelevant.
Right, because it knows it can sense presence. Like it can sense like it doesn't know the exact location, but like if there's a bunch of like life blips like in the area around it, it's going to be looking for you. It's not going to be like you can't catch it off by surprise, I don't think. Yeah. So let us move on to the third part of our show and talk about how we use them in our own game. We already know Tevis and Shayne have used them in their own games before. I have not. But yeah. So let's talk social exploration, combat, and then putting our own spin on the creature. So socially, how would you use these characters? What do you guys think?
I like the ghost idea.
Yeah.
Just
it's a classic like early game like quest, you know.
Yeah.
The haunted house on the hill.
Yeah, so, it's a spooky ghost and they want to be like set free or something. So instead of attacking, they do speak, and if you choose to attack, she'll just fuck you up like the last 10 people that have been to the house.
Right.
But, if you don't, perhaps you get a cool side quest and a reward and maybe a secret hideout or something at the house on the hill.
Yeah, you could also, I don't know, like maybe release her soul. Maybe there's a way to release it or something like that.
To backtrack on what Shayne just said, you could get a secret hideout from where this banshee is and then play it off that you didn't win and make fake banshee wails at night to still keep people away.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Pretty much. I love that.
Yeah. So I'm personally reading the Icewind Dale book, and it's definitely given me a lot of inspiration on what to do with undead and things like that, and the horror theme of D&D. And in one of the examples within the book, without spoiling anything, there's this legend that happens in the book about a woman in white walking across the lake, and that's all that it is in the book. They don't ever touch on it again. They just leave that open for you to use. And I can't imagine a better instance than the plug in a banshee walking over a frozen lake because she drowned, and she's just constantly walking over this lake trying to find herself or like a lover or something. And if you are crossing this frozen lake and stumble upon her, It's not that she's screaming at you and wants you to die because she's evil. It's that she's so filled with rage that she can't find who she's looking for because it's under the ice that her screams of rage turn into her wail, thus knocking you down.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned You've mentioned something about an exorcism in first edition, and I really like in combined like with everything we've talked about, like the house on the hill with the ghost. Perhaps there's like a ritual that needs to be performed or something. And
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, either maybe they want to be released or have their soul set free or be sent to the other side of the ethereal plane that they exist on, and I don't know.
I mean, absolutely. I think, yeah, that's why, like I said, like I like the older editions because they would throw away, like, in those like single lines that would make, like, you think about combat in a different way. So, like, the first edition, the Groaning Spirit, the Banshee, ends with exorcism can kill it. Like, second edition, Azers talks about how they can't live under 200 degrees. Like, those things are interesting to think about because it gives you ideas of, instead of just straight combat, how to kill them. It gives you like the ability to make rituals or the ability to like maybe change your climate or landscapes to fight them. I really liked that about the older editions.
I think I would keep that if I used them again, and I would use it. And because I know that's a thing, if I use them, I would sort of alter the encounter to a lot for that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think a ritual would be really cool, like the expel.
Like an exorcism,
Yeah, especially if you have players that think that way. Like I know a lot of us tend to lean towards stuff like that with our player types and character types.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I played a John Constantine like character for like 2 years, so I'd love to exercise some ghosts.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I'm going to preface this. I've been playing a lot of Phasmophobia lately, which, if you don't know that game, you play as ghost hunters going into haunted houses, and you have to figure out what kind of ghost is in there and like figure out all that stuff. I think it would be cool to use these creatures as kind of like maybe like a one shot, like a Halloween one shot, where like maybe you are kind of like the Scooby Gang or like fantasy ghost hunters and stuff, and like you get a quest like there's a ghost haunting the thing on the hill. Go figure out what time of ghost it is and we can get rid of it. And like you have to go through and find clues and maybe like talk to stuff, and you like slowly throughout the house it starts beginning to reveal like the tragic story of this beautiful elven woman who used to live here. And like you start putting together that as a banshee, and then like as soon as you find the banshee, like all the doors slam closed, and then you're just in a haunted house with them.
I like that.
Then the real traps come in, the Home Alone traps.
Exactly.
Flying off shelves, and
it could have a Scooby-Doo moment when you're just running through doors and coming out other doors.
With ball bearings on the ground through one of the doors.
Exactly. I think also if we're talking about social, I think it is a really cool way if you want to like tell the story of maybe a character long dead. You can really explore the story of like a morally corrupt or a very tragic character that became a banshee. Like maybe like as you're exploring the Banshee's area, or like you hear stories in the tavern of this old woman who like became so cruel she lost everyone in her life and stuff, and you kind of like revealing it. Because I really like the idea of the tragedy of a banshee. I think like you could really explore that part of it, and really like, so when your players do fight it, you'll have like, oh, okay, we know what this character was in its past life, and I kind of understand the anger and the rage and stuff. I think there's like a lot of story you can do. This has the Banshee has a really nice lore that you can use it, because it pretty much tells you why it is a banshee. It tells you what kind of emotions it has and stuff, but it really leaves you a way to like explore why it became a banshee. Anyone have anything else to say about the social aspect of this creature?
Nope.
No.
All right, let's move on to exploration. What kind of landscape might this monster be found in? Do they have a favorite terrain? And what type of fantastical locations could you create, or would you create, to house this creature? So obviously, haunted house.
Yeah.
Haunted house next to a frozen lake.
Yeah.
Haunted house next to a frozen lake.
Or like an abandoned, like I don't know, like camp in the middle of the woods. and then like the surrounding area is like in I think third edition 3.5, where you know, it's like blighted or, you know, spooky, vines everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Haunted crypts.
Crypts. Yeah, you can do
I like
crypts,
the idea of
graveyards.
crypts a lot. Like if you're just kind of wandering around a dungeon and you're like on the front end or the tail end, you could have to enter through crypts or something like that, and this would be cool to throw in as something that's like, sure, they would know that you were there, but maybe they're like bound to these crypts for some reason. Something in
definitely.
their casket, and they're just, like you said, filled with rage because they could never leave or be exorcised from existence.
Yeah. Maybe some kind of botched exorcism gone wrong on a human who was believed to be a witch, thus turning her into a banshee and killing her in the process, but in like a very populated city. And the corroding effect of the area is affecting the buildings around, and the whole town slowly is corrupted by this one woman who was murdered wrongfully.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of going off that idea. Oh my god, my phlegm. You could do like, because banshees have a 5-mile radius of like where they can go, and like 5-mile radius of this. Like if you do kind of do like the witch thing burned and it was like a small village, like the banshee could run out an entire village of people. If it's like a smaller village that could fit in 5 miles and just make everyone leave, and then you could really play with the idea of like,
I mean, like, you got to think if it is in like a populace of like 100 or more where this happens, or even like a large city, you know, like Baldur's Gate or something.
Yeah.
How deafening would all of that notification be on you? You'd have alert overload. You sense thousands of living things around you all of the time. You're just gonna get so fatigued by that, and then eventually just start murdering. Just to relieve yourself.
A banshee
would a cry for help, not like a cry for murder.
And a banshee would wipe out commoners with a whale.
Oh yeah.
And it's chilling touch. Like even with the whale, like no, there's no commoners that are gonna make a con save of DC 13. They probably have like
some will. It's a D20.
If they get lucky, yes.
Yeah.
Some will be lucky enough to make it.
Success rate, you know?
Yeah.
If you have no modifiers with commoners.
Most of them are gonna die. But like if people start dropping dead after a cry, I like that everyone's leaving. Going back to the Irish aspect of the banshees, where it originally comes from. Originally they would also haunt the moors, so like the hillsides of Ireland and stuff. So I think you could really play with like that. Like if you wanted to play more homage, however you say that word, to like its actual origins, you could really play with like the Irish countryside, maybe like a lighthouse on like the cliffs of Dover, but fantasy cliffs of Dover, or something like that. You could really play up that. I said lighthouse now. I really like the idea of a haunted lighthouse that like, or maybe a haunted ship, like a ship that went down in the middle of the sea, and you come. I didn't even realize that you could have like a ghost ship with a banshee on it.
What about a ship that didn't go down but is desolated and is floating at sea randomly, but they died on the ship, so they go with it?
Yeah, I like that. That would be cool. That'd be a cool adventure. Kind of like you're like going island to island or something, or like traveling continents, and like you're just on a boat and you see the slowly decrepit boat just slowly like going past your ship, and you see like the visage of this woman in white, her hair flowing and just like staring blankly at you as you pass.
But she can move up to 5 miles from where she died. So if you can see her, or if you can see the ship,
right. That's right. Oh, that'd be a cool like sea monster story, like
looking through the
a sailor's tale.
Yeah, and you look through the telescope, Shane, and you just lock eyes with her.
And you just
done.
And then you're like, "Oh, I saw something," and they're like, "No, you didn't." And you look back, and she's in front of the telescope.
Jump scare, absolutely.
Just like in Pirates of the Caribbean with Davy Jones.
Exactly. Yeah, I think honestly, you could put a banshee pretty much anywhere as long as someone died there.
And people died everywhere.
Yeah,
you could die anywhere.
Fallen warriors and stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
do you think if you played in a modern setting and they wailed into a megaphone, it would amplify?
Yeah. Or what if we got on the radio? Oh, that'd be a cool monster.
One in like a spaceship that goes through like on a sci-fi style spaceship adventure, and there's someone died there, and a vengeful spirit sort of starts to do like Ghost in the Machine style and like releases its wail through the PA system.
That would be super. That'd be a really cool way to reflavor it. I've run Monster of the Week before where like there was like a ghost or like an alien in the radio, but like if it was a banshee and it was like people were dying horribly, like it would actually that's just the Ring, but with a radio. Like actually, if like people were like listening to the radio and their faces contorted and died, it was because a banshee wailed through it. That's just the Ring, but on radio. Never mind. All right, so let's talk about combat. How would they fight? What tactics will they use? Honestly, you pop out of the ground.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that should be their starting
Everyone who
role.
sees them, like 2 saving throws, wisdom and con, with the whale. Yeah.
The whale should always come.
Filter.
First.
Yeah. Like imagine you are going through a crypt or a morgue, right? And the whole party of 6 of you, you're all side by side in a hexagon shape. Everyone's looking around trying to figure out like what's going on. And one of your party members says, like, do you think she knows we're here? And then it just rises between all of you, just moaning, too late. And then screams between all of you, like, oh, that'd be so cool.
Right, yeah. So yeah, that's one
I
thing
think this
about
is also something I would run alone.
Oh, absolutely. I don't, yeah, because I think the Banshee wouldn't let any under their undead be by it.
Mhm.
I think the Banshee is a like isolated solo spirit who's damned for forever. Right, and also running a Banshee with something else would be brutal. Like a Banshee wails, knocks 3 people out. There's skeletons.
Yeah, the only time I think I would run it with something is if there was an even greater undead that could control it, like a lich or something.
Ooh, actually, I just had an idea. What if there was like
a
couple, a Banshee couple? Maybe
That was literally what I was just about to say. Yep.
Wow. Look at you guys. You're all so in sync. I was thinking of it too. The Banshee couple.
Just an arguing
like
couple.
2 beautiful people.
Arguing couple. Oh my god. That's the wailing is just you hear an argument. Like, oh
They're
my god.
pissed because they're trapped together for eternity.
What would the argument be about? Would they be about dishes?
No, it's how they died because they strangled each other and they both died in each other's arms out of anger from some stupid argument.
Because
That's your fault, I'm bad.
And because they can't blame themselves for it, they just blame each other for their deaths. So they're just always yelling at each other.
Maybe they allow the players to traverse. And they're just like
busy with each other.
And they know that people are coming and like the argument's just getting really heated, and as a DM you can just choose. One of 2 things is gonna happen. Either you allow the party to walk up and resolve this marital issue, or the argument gets so heated that they unleash their wails upon your party.
Oh my god. Yeah. So the combat, I do love the idea of couple Banshees. Whale, first round or second round. I think in the incorporeal movement would be really fun to use in combat. Like, especially when you're a haunted house, like it runs by, like smacks someone with a chilling touch and like slowly backs through the wall again. So you have to like be running through wall, like room to room to room to try to fight it as it's just like weaving in and out, going through walls and stuff, or basement and floors. It could really make the more Scooby-Doo could really make the fight dynamic. The chilling touch, boom. I mean, we talked about how it's resistant and immune to pretty much everything, so it'll probably take the opportunity attacks. Like, it's not going to disengage, I don't think, because or maybe it will. I don't know. So yeah, I think it wails. It floats through rooms. I think it's chaotic evil. So if it separates the party and knocks one down, and it can't hit anything else, it might just kill someone who's at 0 hit points.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Like, I know, like, there's some DMs who don't like hitting people who are down, but like, if like the Banshee's in a room by itself and like there's no threats to it, and there's still a breathing character right there, even though it's at 0 hit points, it is going to go chilling touch it or corrupting touch it. It's going to go just murder it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty simple. Like, despite how cool and complex they kind of seem, they're pretty easy to run. You wail, and then you Scooby-Doo, and then you corrupting touch. This is the whole spooky shebang right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's finish the episode by talking about how we would put our own spin on the creature. I know we did a little bit. I really like the idea of the radio and the sci-fi element. I think those are some really cool, interesting ways you can use the Banshee. The Banshee couples. Does anyone have any other ways that you could kind of take the Banshees, put their own twist on them? I still really like the Banshee gnome.
Yeah, that was like just a different race, depending on like where you're at in the world or like what kind of party you're like what kind of races your party are,
Yeah.
I think a Dragonborn Banshee would be really cool.
Oh, yeah, and I just had an idea. What about the non-player races? Because
Ooh. A
okay,
Tarask Banshee. Oh, with the Banshee stat block.
words. I'm gonna name some of the things that happen that Banshees are like before they die, and tell me if there's any creatures that hit your mind. They're usually very charismatic, beautiful. They like shiny stuff.
Lasers?
They really like the reflection. They think they're better than everyone.
Dragons.
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 I feel like a Banshee dragon would be pretty cool, but also terrifying. But like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's very
Yeah.
similar. Like these elves, like the elves are like,
Do you
yeah, go for it. What?
do you think that the whale would also be like a fire breath, not a fire breath, but like
Breath
a ice breath
Oh,
or
that'd
something?
be cool. Make your breath weapon like a
Breath weapon.
whale.
Yeah, give them 3 whales a
Yeah.
day, but it's a breath weapon instead of an AoE.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I think, yeah, because like the reason Banshees become Banshees are they're narcissistic. They like shiny stuff. They think they're better than everyone. They're beautiful creatures. That's like dragons. It's like a lot of dragons. Not all the dragons, but like a lot of dragons are like that.
You know what I was thinking of when you were describing it, though? And I'm so biased to this answer, but I was thinking angels.
Dude, angel.
I don't know why. It just seems so evil to me.
You're not wrong. I mean, you could always play like a corrupted angel as a Banshee, I guess.
Be in hiding. You disguise yourself as an angel.
Just buff it. I mean, you definitely, after looking at the 3rd edition CR17 Banshee, it doesn't look like it would be that hard to translate it into 5th edition. Seeing that you'd have to adjust the saving throws because like the saving throws in that edition are like DC 28 and 29. So like obviously scale it. But yeah, I think you could definitely play with like other monsters. I really like the idea of Dragon Banshee. Beholder Banshee. Beholders also think they're better than everyone.
Well, I mean, there is something kind of like that, but we'll get to that when it's Beholder time.
Oh, you're right. You very much are right. Yeah. Anyone have any other ways to make these things unique? I think these creatures are so interesting that it's like hard to put your own twist on them because they have such solid lore that I just really want to run them how they like are supposed to be like run. So it's kind of hard for me.
What if you made an encounter or something in a game where the Banshee's wail was the key to opening something?
Oh.
And it was a heavy give and take that like to get through this, you need to get the Banshee to wail, but it also you're also under the same circumstances, right? So like let's say there's some kind of something under the frozen lake, going back to that example. To break the ice, you need the Banshee to wail. Or there's like a house that's magically encircled by runes that is unbreakable other than a Banshee's wail, and one of your teammates has been kidnapped and taken inside before the runes were put up.
I like that a lot. I like that as a puzzle / like ritual. It's like, okay, there's a potentially like you're risking your life here to get this open. I also just had another idea, so I guess I do have ideas. So what if you're in an adventuring party and you get to a tavern and there's people talking about that these younger adolescents, teenagers, keep dying at night, specifically in front of mirrors. And there's a rumor that they say 2 words 3 times in a row. But it has to be like Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. What if Bloody Mary was a Banshee?
Banshee,
Running
please, Banshee,
spirit.
please, Banshee, please.
Because I feel like that would work. Like you could definitely do a quest like that, kind of like take the
Yeah,
Bloody Mary lore, make it a Banshee.
like the Banshee has a magic mirror that they can see
Yeah.
out of all mirrors within their 5-mile radius. So anyone looking into it and is
Makes
beautiful,
sense.
they'll hunt him down and kill him.
Yes, I like that a lot. Yeah, definitely. Like they're in the mirror dimension, and like those who are vain, it's hunting down because possibly maybe it's a banshee that does still live in the town, but it doesn't make itself known. It just kills the most beautiful in town because it thinks it's the most beautiful in town and just really hunts. And then you have to like, as a party, you have to save like the most beautiful bard who's just an asshole, but you have to keep him safe at night.
Oh,
And it's
that's
just-
funny. I want to
That's
seduce myself in the mirror. Like, congratulations, you triggered a Banshee event. Like, what?
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's
that's all I got. Does any last minute things on the Banshee? I really like this creature.
No.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I like spooky, scary ghost stories, and this really fits
Yeah.
the bill. Pretty sure I paired mine with like a specter that was kind of far off.
I think
Like,
if I remember, yeah.
it was like the first encounter was a specter, and then you guys like later encountered some banshees. I'm pretty sure it was just like a lead up to set the tone. Like it's like a ghost story type of situation, which is very
Yeah.
much what I enjoy about it. You can kind of put them in a very spooky scenario anywhere, and make them the centerpiece of your fun little story.
Absolutely.
I wish I had utilized them better in my.
I know that's like the thing. Every time we do one of these episodes, I'm like, shit, I could have used these creatures. So what? But that's a good thing we're doing these like the show just like for our own games because now I'm looking at, I'm like, wow, I could have done so much more if I would have actually done research. But like, who has time when they're like about to run a game to like do in-depth research on all the monsters they're gonna run? Because there's so much other stuff you have to juggle. You don't really have the time.
Right.
No, that's why I really enjoy recording this, is so I can learn what's available. Like the first, this is our 7th episode. The first 7 monsters, I knew of like 2 of them.
Right. And I mean, no spoilers for Shayne's campaign, but one is, yeah, never mind. But it is, all right. So, if the Banshee didn't kill you with its whale this week, you better shield your eyes for next week so you don't turn into stone. As we talk about the basilisk, which is like another crazy monster that like has an ability that has possibility of just turning everything wrong so quick. So yeah, next week we're going. What's that Harry Potter place?
Chamber of Secrets.
We're heading to the Chamber of Secrets, and we are going to go talk.
Throw me a butterbeer.
The Chamber of Dissonant Whispers, because copyrights. That's where
true. Also, this basilisk has legs. I don't think that basilisk had legs.
That's fair. Also, I think we mentioned this last week, but in 3 weeks from recording this, it will be the week of Halloween, and that's when we get to do Beholders. That's so perfectly lined up. Oh my god!
So hard to get that episode to release on Halloween. So even if we have to edit like through the night after, because that's gonna be great. Because Beholders are creepy as hell, and they're spooky, and they're like, I would argue. I mean, I would argue, that they might be the most notable creature in D&D. Like everyone thinks of Beholder. I mean, it's on the goddamn front of the monster manual.
Yeah,
I would argue that it's dragons, but Beholder is number 2.
That is true. I mean, Dungeons and it's not Dungeons and Beholders.
Yeah.
Basements and Beholders.
Behold my dungeons.
Anyway, that was Banshee. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got through our mad ramblings and found something you could use. I think we came up with some good ideas. I'm going to pat ourselves on the back for this one. I think we came up with some
virtual pats.
Virtual pats on the back. I really like this one. I really like the Banshees. I think that was really cool. Like I said, next week we got the Basilisk, the crazy lizard that if you look in the eyes, you will be Medusa, and there's like not really coming back from that other than a really high level spell, which is fun. But anyway, let's do some plugs. Let's sign off. And yeah, let's do that. Hit us, Shayne.
You can catch me live at twitch.tv/bringtheshayne, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram as well, and you can catch me streaming. I have a variety stream. It is not a Minecraft stream. It is a variety stream.
What about that?
And we have lots of fun. Come hang out.
It is lots of fun. I agree. All right, who's next?
Anderson's next.
Okay. You can come watch the D&D campaign I play in Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/20 or die. That's not spelt 20, it is 20 die or die. 20 or die. We play a Greek Odyssey setting based off of an adventure written by the writers of the Mass Effect series, the old Baldur's Gate, and a couple other games. But it's very fun, very engaging.
Yeah. And you can catch me at twitch.tv/Tevistar with 2 R's.
2 R's, yes.
I mean, I stream Stardew Valley sometimes, but I've been playing a lot of Divinity Original Sin 2 recently, and I might actually start streaming that.
Yeah.
So,
Pick up Baldur's Gate 3, dude. I'd stream that with you.
I don't know. I don't want to. There's so many issues with it, and also I don't want to get burnt out on it. Before it even comes out.
Fair.
I'm not going to speak about Baldur's Gate because we are doing a Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast podcast, kind of. But I just saw it crash like twice in 10 minutes when I watched someone play it. Anyway, you can find me at twitch.tv/farmgoat. I play a lot of horror games, a lot of indie games. On Thursdays, I try to spice it up with some tabletop role-playing games, not D&D. I've been playing 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I'm going to try to get some people to play Fiasco possibly in the next couple weeks. So I'll be asking you guys that soon. And I'm going to try to I have a huge collection of role-playing games, as I'm guessing a lot of people who are listening to this do, that I need to start playing, because right now it's just a book collection and I've not played a lot of them. So I'm going to start trying to get people together on Thursdays to play some different role-playing games. So if you're interested in that, like I said, twitch.tv/farmgoat. As always, for the show's social medias, we have Instagram, Survival Check Show. Go check that out. We have Survival Check on Twitter. We have the DM Survival Guide on YouTube, and then you can find all the episodes under Survival Check under there. That's where we post them. Same with SoundCloud. That is also Survival Check. And yeah, I think that's all the plugs. So, being October, I hope you all have a spooky week, a spooky day, a spooky night. Even if you're listening to this not in October, just have a spooky time. It is a spooky season, ladies and gentlemen. So,
Big spooks.
Get spooks. We're out of here. Be excellent to each other. We'll be seeing you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.